Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about a natural disaster that has struck the Wayanad region of Kerala, which is a hill station and also well-known tourist destination. So, how and why these landslides have happened? Could we have prevented it? What are the possible causes and what are the solutions and way forward we can think of so that such tragedies or at least the impact of such tragedies can be prevented in the future? Let us try to discuss about this. So first of all, to give you the background of this particular issue, a massive landslide has been observed in the Wayanad district of northern Kerala that happened in early hours last week with continuous torrential rainfall, very heavy rainfall that has been recorded, and it is believed that this is the primary reason behind this large scale death and destruction. If you take a look at the casualty figure, as of now the death toll has risen to almost 358, and still a lot of people, hundreds of people are missing, so it is expected that death toll will further rise. Now several countries including US, China, Germany and the Netherlands, they have offered condolences over this tragedy, over the loss of lives in Wayanad, and even now Kerala is still trying to struggle and struggling to come to terms with the tragedy that has befallen. So in this context, if we try to understand the vulnerability of Kerala as far as the natural disaster of landslide is concerned. So if you take a look at the map of Kerala, as you can see on the eastern side of Kerala, which is also a mountainous area due to presence of the Western Ghats, most experts agree that there are basically a number of causative factors that can cause landslide in these vulnerable zones or vulnerable regions of Kerala. If we talk about the vulnerability itself, almost 50 half of Kerala's land area, that means almost 19,301 square kilometer, to be very precise, about 49.7% we can say of the total land mass is prone to landslides, and the heavy rainfall in the region as well as the slope of Western Ghat, because also if we try to understand the structure of Western Ghat, on the western side the Western Ghat is very steeper, while on the eastern side it has a gradual or gentle slope. So obviously, as the Kerala lies on the western side of Western Ghat, it is basically facing the steepest slope or steeper slope of Western Ghat, and that is why any heavy rainfall that occurs in this zone and that can cause landslide. And due to this both heavy rainfall and slope, Wayanad is uniquely vulnerable to the landslides because Wayanad is situated here. And if you talk about the Wayanad region itself, about 31.5% of the district is highly susceptible according to the research conducted by IIT Delhi. The earlier figure of half of Kerala's land area being vulnerable to landslide is something that has been given by Geological Survey of India, a government of India's institutions. So, what are the possible causes that might have triggered these landslides? So, experts agree that apart from the natural vulnerability that Kerala has, the human factor also has played an important role here. Indeed, it is the human factor which has or which have exacerbated the damage of the or amplified the damage or the dangers of a natural calamity in this area. So if you look at the Madhav Gadgil, he is of the view that it is the increasing construction, uncontrolled construction that is going on in the mountainous regions of the Kerala, which can be considered as one of the major dominant factors. In this regard, we can understand that as we have discussed in the beginning of our video also, Wayanad has emerged as tourist hotspot, tourist destination in Kerala, and it is attracting a lot of travelers, especially in last few years after the boom of domestic tourism. In this context, to accommodate the demand of the tourists, a lot of homestays and monsoon, we can say, this resorts are being constructed here, and also during the time of monsoon, as Kerala receives heavy rainfall, it attracts people who can be clubbed as a monsoon tourist. So it is the latest trend, and this has given rise to uncontrolled and increasing extent of construction. And especially if we talk about the construction of resorts as well as even artificial lakes that is being done in Kerala has added to the woe of the Wayanad region, and also the abundant quarries are something that increases the vulnerability of landslides. So that is the first problem that we can highlight, increasing construction to accommodate the demands of tourists. Second problem or second reason which can be highlighted is the land use changes that this region has witnessed over a longer period of time, going all the way up to the British era. It was during the British time, the tea plantations were developed in the region of Western Ghats, including all the states of this region. And as per the study conducted by the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health, it clearly has stated that on the study of the plantation induced forest degradation in Wayanad, it has said that if we talk about the time period between the 1950 to 2018, almost 62% reduction in the forest cover of the region has been observed. Not only that, a 1800% increase in the area under plantation have been witnessed. That means the continuation of trade that began in the British period or British time is something that has went on. And such monocropping basically refers to plantation of a single type of crop in the entire area throughout the season, throughout the year, leads to loosening of the topsoil that was once held in the place by roots of the forest. So on one hand, we are cutting the forest. That means the soil this keeping tendency or soil keeping properties of the forest is on decline. That means soil are becoming more and more loose, and also as a result of monocropping, the upper layer of soil is undergoing erosion, and that can easily trigger landslide if heavy rainfall or any geological activity or disturbances happen in the given area. So this is the second region that we can identify here. The third factor, something that we can say which is applicable worldwide, is the climate change factor. So it is a climate change that is leading to the changes in rainfall patterns in the state, which is the reason behind the landslide. Now, how it can contribute to the landslide, let us try to understand this. Now, we know that the major factor contributing to climate change is nothing but the global warming, that is increase in the atmospheric temperature. As the atmosphere and ocean interacts with each other, they both are interacting with each other, it also causes the warming of the ocean body. So in this case, it is the Arabian Sea that is getting warmer due to the impact of global warming. Now, as the Arabian Sea gets warmer, more and more evaporation will happen. That means dense clouds will form, and the heavy rainfall events will be increased in the number in the future also. And on the other hand, the number of rainy days is on decline. In other way, what we can say that the number of rainy days has declined, but the extent of rainfall has increased, amount of rainfall has increased. That means earlier, when the rainfall was distributed over a long period of time, now it is concentrated over a shorter period, and heavy torrential rainfall is being recorded in this period. Thus, in other way, we can say that the cool, humid environment with year-round drizzles and monsoon rain is now turning into what we can call as, that can be marked by a drier, hotter summer and intense downpours during the monsoon. So dry soil absorbing less water, as we have discussed before, and heavy rainfall causes runoff that can trigger the landslide. So that is how we can understand the impact of the climate change. However, this is not a direct impact, but rather we can say this is the indirect impact. The other two impacts or effects that we have discussed before, causes we have discussed before, are something that we can call as are a more direct contributing factors for the landslide. Now, what is the solution for it? Because as we know, there is a natural vulnerability, there is a human interference, there is a climate change. So in this context, we can look back at a report that was published known by Western Ghats Ecology Expert Panel report that was given by Madhav Gadgil. Now, as per his recommendation, he suggested that the entire region of Western Ghat is ecologically fragile area, and thus the entire 129,000 square kilometers of the region, which is spread over 6 states right from Gujarat to Kerala, should be declared as an ecologically sensitive zone. Now, he said that this ecologically sensitive zone should be categorized into 3 categories, that is ESZ1, ESZ2 and ESZ3. Now, as far as ESZ1 and 2 is concerned, he said that there should be a strict restrictions on development that has to be imposed there. And what it means by having a strict restriction, again to make a point, the Wayanad, where you have observed or witnessed a landslide, as per this committee's report, lies in the ecological sensitive zone 1. That means these are the restrictions that need to be followed there. These are a ban on the land use changes. That means there should not be a significant changes in how the land is being used for a period of time. a moratorium on mining and quarrying, because it is the mining and quarrying that also is responsible for the disturbances in the rocks that can trigger the landslides. A limit on the hydropower project, because hydropower leads to develop hydropower projects basically involves the construction of dam that also can be threatening to the ecological sensitive zones. And no new railway lines or major roads should be allowed through these areas, and strictly regulating the minimal ecotourism. That means tourism should be regulated, and also the focus should be on sustainable tourism, ecologically sustainable and ecologically productive tourism. So these were the major suggestions. If the report's committee, the committee's recommendation, if it would have followed, these are the changes that would have witnessed. But obviously, the Gargle Committee panel report was rejected by all the 6 states that are in which the Western Ghats are spread over, following a public backlash, because obviously, if you try to understand, if you implement all these changes, there will be a significant decline in the economic activity. It will hamper or impact the livelihood of the people, especially who are dependent on the mining for the job or for tourism to live, run their household and all this. So economic growth as well as livelihoods would have been impacted significantly. Thus, his recommendation was not heeded over and it was not implemented. Rather, after his recommendation, a new committee was formed under the ex-ISRO chief K. Kasturirangan, and K. Kasturirangan then watered down the recommendations of the Madhav Gade committee and said that rather than declaring the entire Western Ghat as a ecologically sensitive area, only 37% of Western Ghat should be declared as ecologically sensitive. However, still, even if this recommendation would have been implemented, much of Wayanad would fail in the area that has to be protected. Now, obviously, this report was also not implemented. After that, we have another notification that is referred as a draft notification of Western Ghat protection. It was issued in March 2014 and it has remained in the draft stage for over a decade in the central government. And further, in the most recent time, at 2022, a committee was set up to incorporate states concerned, and also the committee's major mandate was to understand the balance between the conservation aspect of the disaster prone pristine ecosystem and the rights, privileges, needs and developmental aspirations of the region. However, this report is yet to be submitted. This committee was basically instituted to make sure that obviously we have to protect the people in these areas from the natural disaster, natural hazard, and at the same time they have to balance the economic demand of the people. So how a balance can be achieved? So this is something that also we have to wait and see that what is the recommendations of this committee. Now, as far as the landslides is concerned, or landslides are concerned, first of all, if you have to define, landslides can simply be defined as any movement of rocks, debris or earth under the influence of gravity from the highland area, generally mountainous areas, hilly areas, to the low-lying areas. So in this context, the National Disaster Management Authority, after the recommendation of National Institute of Disaster Management, has come up with a national landslide risk management strategy, which outlines and discusses the strategy around 6 key areas. The first being generation of user-friendly landslide hazard maps to understand that which area is more vulnerable, which area is less vulnerable. Also, in times of evacuation, what are the areas that they should move or migrate from to which areas. Second is development of landslide monitoring and early warning system. This still is in the very early development stage, and it is expected that in next few years, maybe we might be able to implement a early warning system kind of thing here. Third is awareness program, especially among the vulnerable population residing in the mountainous and hilly regions of India, so that they clearly have an understanding that in which kind of warning, what are the steps that they should take, and what are the key steps that they can take immediately so that they can minimize the damage on the in the given region. Fourth is capacity building and training of the stakeholders, whether it is the National Disaster Response Force, whether it is the local government officials, whether it is the village panchayats, or whether it is the Jilla, you have urban local bodies. So capacity building and training should be even implemented on them. Preparation of mountain zone regulations and policies, that is something which has been recommended by the Madhav Gade committee also. And last, the stabilization and mitigation of landslides and creation of SPV, that is special purpose vehicle for the landslide management. So these are the points that can be discussed under National Landslide Risk Management Strategy. Now the question comes, what about the warning to the landslides? Now, in this context, as we have discussed, largely in India, landslide, especially if we talk about the Western Ghats region of India, landslide is largely and predominantly caused by the heavy torrential rainfall. So, obviously, it is the Indian Meteorological Department that issues a warning for heavy rainfall in a color coded system. For example, if you take a look at here, we have first that is called as green alert, which means that no severe weather is expected as far as the rainfall is concerned, and keep up to date with latest forecast. That is the suggestions for the people. Second is yellow alert. That means you have to be aware, remain alert, and keep up to date with the latest forecast. Third is orange alert. That means no severe weather is expected, but be prepared, remain vigilant, keep up to date with latest forecast, and take precautions wherever possible. And last, that is the red alert, which means this is the situation where heavy torrential rainfall is expected will occur, and the people need to take immediate action. They have to also remain vigilant, keep up to date with latest forecast, and they have to follow orders and any advices given by authorities and be prepared for the extraordinary measures. Extraordinary measure means evacuating from the given region and leaving all things, their houses and all the belongings behind, so that they can be safe. Now, as far as the current landslide is concerned, the IMD warning about heavy rainfall came after the landslide already has occurred. In other way, we can say that the red alert was issued by IMD, but after the landslide has happened, so it was of no significant benefit. The nodal agency, that is Geological Survey of India, it has been made a nodal agency for landslide studies, and this agency has also been given the responsibility of evolving an early warning system and protocols for the risk reduction in the event of landslides. However, still, as we have discussed, this is an experimental stage and it will take at least 4 or 5 years more to be ready for the public use. Now, regional landslide forecast bulletins are issued to the states from every now and then, and district authorities in Wayanad since the onset of 2024 monsoon have been given this forecast bulletin. However, this bulletin also predicted a low probability on the most days, low probability of the landslide on most days, and even on the day when the landslide has happened, that is in last week, the probability was updated from low to moderate. That means that time also it was not a very severe or high probability event, and that is why the adequate action might not have been taken. So, in conclusion, what we can say that also we talk about a human factor has to play a very important role here, because as we have discussed, it is a steep sloping mountainous region recording heavy rainfall. Minor landslides occur very frequently, and thus many villagers, the people who are living in these areas, they have gotten used to it and they are hesitant to basically cooperate in any kind of evacuation efforts, fearful of losing their holdings. This is what a problem that has been highlighted by the local officials. And this is something, as we have discussed, the strategies suggest earlier given by NDMA, that awareness of the people or among the people can play a very important role in ensuring that these kind of issues do not arise. A proposal to build climate resilient community shelters in the safe areas using materials and building techniques which can withstand the vagaries of weather is yet to be implemented, and this can also play a very important role in the future. Now, let us try to take a look at the previous year questions that has been asked in the UPSC means examination from the landslide topic. As you know, landslide is a topic that is important in General Studies 3 because there you have to study it under the disaster management, and in GS1 also you have to study geography, where you have to understand the concepts behind the earthquake, rainfall and relating a disaster, that is landslide. So the first question that was asked again in mains 2022, where the question is that describe the various causes and the effects of landslides. That is part 1 of the question, we can say. This is the part 2 of the question, and mention the important components of the national landslide risk management strategy. Total 6 components are there. We have discussed that already in the video. So causes of landslides also we have discussed, impact we already are witnessing. So try to write this question by yourself, how you structure it, what are the points you will have. The second question again is related to the landslides, where they have asked to differentiate the causes of landslides in the Himalayan region and the Western Ghats. Zone 50 words you have to write within 10-mark question that was asked also in 2021. So these are the 2 questions that we can look asked in the recent time from the landslide. So this is all about today's video. I hope you understood the possible causes and the solutions that we can implement about the landslides in the India, most particularly in the Western Ghats regions.